Hey, welcome. Today, we are tearing up the old rulebook on corporate responsibility. We're going to move way past the staged photo ops and empty pledges. Instead, we're diving into how technology, and frankly, a growing demand for real authenticity, are completely reshaping how businesses need to show up in the world.
So let's just jump right in with a question. What on earth could a giant car manufacturer and a global soda company possibly have in common? Now, this isn't a setup for a bad joke. The answer is actually a massive cautionary tale about what happens when corporate responsibility goes completely off the rails.
The answer, it turns out, is a number. A very big number. $9.1 billion. That's what Volkswagen had to pay for its emissions scandal. But that number, as huge as it is, it's so much more than just a fine. That figure represents the real, tangible cost of a corporate social responsibility failure. See, when a company's actions are the complete opposite of its public promises, the price tag isn't just financial. It's the total collapse of trust. Trust from its customers, its employees, and, society as a whole.
So, here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with the high price of faking it. Then, we'll get constructive and build out the modern playbook for doing it right. We'll look at how tech is powering inclusion, how you build a culture that actually supports it, and we'll wrap up with a real-world blueprint you can look to.
All right, let's get into our first section. This is really all about what happens when social responsibility is treated like just another marketing gimmick instead of a core value.
So on one side, you've got Volkswagen, which deliberately installed software to cheat on emissions tests in 11 million of its cars, all while marketing them as clean diesel. Then on the other side, you have Coca-Cola, which launched its Life brand in a nice green bottle, pushed it as a healthy choice, but it was still loaded with sugar. Both of these are just textbook examples of greenwashing, making people believe you're doing good when you're really not.
And this quote right here, it just nails why that whole strategy is dead. We live in a world that is so connected you can't hide anymore. People can see right through the corporate spin. They demand transparency, and they vote with their wallets. They're choosing to give their money to companies that actually care.
So if the old way of doing things is broken, what does the new way look like? Well, that's what we're getting into now. We're laying out the modern playbook for CSR, and it's all about shifting from just performing for an audience to acting on real principles. Modern CSR is not about writing a big check once a year for a photo op. It's a system of self-regulation. It means a company is actively holding itself accountable to everyone, to its stakeholders, to society, and even to itself, making sure its behavior is sustainable and ethical, day in and day out.
And this slide right here shows the difference so clearly. The old way was always reactive, right? A donation here, a frantic PR campaign after a scandal there. The new way is proactive. It's integrated into the business itself. It's about using technology to be more inclusive, using data to be transparent, and making responsibility just part of the daily routine, not some special occasion.
And all of this really rests on three core pillars. First, radical transparency. That means you share the good and the bad. Second, proactive accountability. That means you own your mistakes and fix things before they blow up. And third, open and inclusive communication, which means creating a space where every single voice is heard and valued. Okay, this brings us to the really exciting part, the modern toolkit. Let's look at how technology is making these pillars a reality, especially when it comes to creating workplaces that are genuinely inclusive. Seriously, tech isn't just about spreadsheets and efficiency anymore. It's now one of the most powerful tools we have for corporate responsibility. Things like artificial intelligence and other digital platforms are completely revolutionizing how companies can approach accessibility and inclusion for everyone.
Take this, for example. Instead of just waiting for a user with a disability to complain that a website doesn't work for them, companies can now use AI to proactively scan their digital products. These AI tools are constantly checking against accessibility standards, they're flagging any barriers, and sometimes they can even generate the code to fix the problem right then and there. It's about building accessibility in from the start. But, and this is a huge but, all this power has to be used responsibly. It's about ethical AI. This means auditing your hiring algorithms to make sure they're not accidentally filtering out qualified candidates from indigenous or ethnic American communities. It means being totally transparent about how AI might influence promotions. It even means analyzing software updates to make sure they're still usable for your neurodivergent employees. The goal is to create actual fairness, not just to automate old, broken systems. And this quote just says it all. Things like screen readers for people who are visually impaired or haptic feedback for those with motor challenges, these aren't just cool features. They are literally the bridge that allows millions of people to get an education, to get a job, and to be a full participant in our digital world.
Okay, but let's be real. You can have the fanciest tools in the world, but they're not going to mean a thing if your company culture isn't ready for them. Tech has to be paired with a real, human-centered commitment to building an environment where everyone feels like they belong.
So if you're a leader, what can you do like tomorrow? Well, here's a super practical checklist. Audit the software your team uses. Make flexible work options the default, not some special privilege. Pay attention to inclusive language. And maybe most importantly, actively ask your team members, especially those with disabilities, what barriers they're facing. Then listen and actually do something about it. That's how you go from just talking about inclusion to actually living it. A company called Interlate has this incredible model for doing this. They didn't just sit in a boardroom and guess what people needed. No, they started by creating reference groups with Indigenous Americans, people with disabilities, and members of the LGBTQ+ community. Then they just listened. They learned about blind spots they didn't even know they had. And then, and this is the key part, they built their action plans together with those groups. That is what authentic inclusion looks like.
So what happens when a big, global company manages to put all these pieces together? The tech, the culture, the transparency. What does that actually look like? Let's check out a blueprint, using the company Ricoh as a kind of modern case study.
If we were to update Ricoh's well-known CSR strategy for today, it would look something like this: a really balanced portfolio. You'd see a huge emphasis on digital accessibility, you'd see their ongoing commitment to recycling and sustainable tech, but you'd also see deep investments in their employees, tracking diverse hiring and building partnerships to teach ethical AI in the community. It's a true 360-degree approach.
And these efforts, they produce real, measurable results. This number, 1,104 tons, that's how many toner cartridges Ricoh recycled in just 1 year. That's not just fluff. It's a hard number that proves that CSR can create quantifiable, positive change in the world. So if there's one thing you take away from all of this, let it be this. True corporate social responsibility isn't a glossy annual report or a splashy press release. It's woven into the very fabric of a company. It's in the code of your app. It's in the questions you ask in an interview. It's in the 1,000 little decisions that get made every single day. Which really just leaves us with one final question for you to think about. Your company's actions are telling a story. They're speaking loud and clear. The question is, are you proud of what they're saying,